Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a fascinating and somewhat lopsided tale from the Pacific theater of World War II. It's a story about a clash of technology, David and Goliath situation, but where Goliath had a .50 caliber machine gun. We're talking about the time US Marines encountered the Japanese Type 95 Hogo tank and discovered something truly astonishing. Picture the scene, the brutal island-hopping campaigns of the Pacific. Marines are pushing through dense jungles, facing a determined enemy. Among the Japanese arsenal was the Type 95 Hago, their most produced light tank of the war. When it was first designed in the mid-1930s, it was actually a pretty decent vehicle for its time. It was light, fast, and intended primarily for infantry support against opponents with limited anti-tank capabilities like China. The Hago weighed just over 7 tons. Its main armament was a 37mm gun, which was adequate in the 1930s but quickly became obsolete as the war progressed. Its real weakness, however, was its armor. At its thickest, the hull armor was only 12mm, and on the sides and rear, it was even thinner, sometimes as little as 6mm. This was barely enough to stop small arms fire and shrapnel. The designers prioritized mobility and low weight for navigating rough terrain and crossing weak bridges, sacrificing protection in the process. Now let's switch perspectives to the US Marines. By the time they were heavily engaged in the Pacific, they were equipped with some serious firepower. One of the most iconic and effective weapons they had was the Browning M2 machine gun, affectionately known as the Ma-Deuce. This heavy machine gun fired the powerful .50 caliber Browning machine gun cartridge, or .50 BMG for short. The .50 cal was designed to be an anti-armor and anti-aircraft weapon. Its heavy projectile could tear through light fortifications, disable vehicles, and, as the Marines would soon discover, make short work of certain tanks. When the Marines first started facing Hago tanks in battles like Guadalcanal and Tarawa, they were, of course, cautious. A tank is a tank, and it commands respect on the battlefield. But then, something incredible happened. During firefights, Marines firing their .50 caliber machine guns at the advancing Hago tanks noticed their rounds were just bouncing off or chipping the paint. The armor-piercing variants of the .50 cal rounds were punching straight through the thin Japanese armor. Imagine the surprise, and frankly, the grim satisfaction of seeing your heavy machine gun rounds penetrating an enemy tank as if it were made of plywood. There are numerous first-hand accounts from veterans who describe this. They'd talk about how they would open up with the Ma-Deuce. The bullets would go in one side of the Hago and come out the other. It was a complete mismatch. The 12mm of steel on the Hago was simply no match for the kinetic energy of a 50 BMG round. For the crew inside that tank, it would have been an absolute nightmare. This discovery led to a shift in tactics. While heavier anti-tank weapons like the bazooka or dedicated anti-tank guns were still the preferred tool for the job, infantry units learned they weren't defenseless if a Hago appeared. A well-placed burst from a Browning M2 could disable the tank, injure the crew, or even cause it to catch fire by hitting the engine or ammunition. Marines reportedly laughed about it, but it was likely a dark gallows humor born from the stress of combat. It was a relief to find a critical vulnerability in a weapon that was meant to inspire fear. They could effectively defang these Japanese light tanks with a weapon they already had in abundance. The story of the .50 cal versus the Hago tank is a stark reminder of the rapid pace of military technological advancement during World War II. The Hago, perfectly serviceable tank in 1935, was hopelessly outclassed by 1942. Its design philosophy, which prioritized mobility over protection, proved to be a fatal flaw when faced with the superior firepower of the Allied forces. It highlights the brutal reality of warfare. Having the right equipment for the fight is often the difference between victory and defeat, life and death. The Japanese military was aware of these shortcomings. They tried to develop more capable tanks, like the Type 1 Chi-He and the Type 3 Chi-Nu, which had better armor and more powerful guns. However, due to industrial limitations and the priority given to the Navy and Air Force, these improved tanks were produced in relatively small numbers and rarely made it to the front lines in the Pacific Islands. For the most part, Japanese forces had to make do with the obsolete Hago and other light tanks. So, The next time you see a Browning M2 in a movie or a museum, remember its incredible legacy. This wasn't just a machine gun. For the Marines in the Pacific, it was a pocket tank destroyer, capable of turning an enemy armored vehicle into Swiss cheese. A testament to American engineering and a weapon that gave the infantry a crucial edge. What do you think about this incredible mismatch in technology? Have you heard any other stories like this from World War II? Let me know down in the comments. I love reading your insights and stories. Thanks so much for watching today. If you enjoyed this deep dive into military history, make sure to hit that like button. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next video. We've got plenty more fascinating stories to share. Till next time, stay curious.